So I one day will figure out how to start these videos without feeling like weird. But I guess it just never gets new or old. Never gets old looking at yourself from a screen and then chit chatting with absolutely nobody but preparing to share. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about this quote that I saw and then some conversations that I've had recently about like insight in ourselves and how we see the world and how we take it in. So I saw this quote and it was from Tupac, which you should know I love quoting Tupac in therapy. But anyway, so Tupac, essentially, I'm going to butcher this, said people look at the world differently when one is raised in love, essentially, and then the other person is raised out of survival. And I thought, and I sat on those, and it really resonated with my spirit about like how we take in the world and how we interact with others. And I think it's a very powerful message because I think sometimes when things happen, we are so quick to look at the raw, cut, broken down version of the narrative, which is A happened, then B happened, and C is how I felt about it, or C is how they felt about it. But sometimes it's like when you're not in conflict or you feel like you're maybe didn't get some closure over something, the reality is that sometimes the closure or the interaction or the like conflict of the solution has to come either internally or understanding that there's a chance that you and the other individual are not going to align because your experiences and your worldviews have gotten you to believe different things. So, for example, we take in the world through the things that we do and we say and how we engage with the world. And so we learn at such a young age belief systems, whether they're positive or negative about ourselves. So, for example, I was raised in a home where the world is a good place, but that's not the same for everyone. Maybe they have the belief that the world is not a good place, and maybe that's because at an early age in your home you endured something or trauma, or just like you didn't have good friends growing up, and maybe they were like bullies of some sort, and so maybe you developed a belief system that friends aren't good, like friends aren't good people, or like you can't trust anyone, or that nobody really genuinely likes you, or perhaps, you know, on the other end you were raised with friend dynamics that were consistent and loyal, and so you believe that again people are good people and friend dynamics are a good thing. This is not just limited to like interactions of friends or family, but it also extends to like just interactions and communities, and it also, I think, comes down to like our own belief systems about ourselves. So if I was like educated in an environment where my parents supported it, my teachers supported me, and the belief system was, for example, for me, hard work pays off, like questions are welcome, support is available, you are intelligent, then you're more likely to see yourself in that light and put yourself in positions where you feel like you're more likely to succeed or accomplish, or you can envision or visualize yourself manifesting, you know, a degree or a job that you want. But if that wasn't the home that you were fostered in, and or the school, the resources were lacking, the education structure was lacking, the teachers didn't believe in you, then you then take on possibly a different belief system. And so obviously life isn't so cut dry, so you can be raised in a negative and work home environment and defy odds and break through that, because you know you believe it so internally that you're meant to be successful, that you take matters into your own hands and you work hard and you do it. So it's not saying that we are defined by our environments totally, but I do think that they do help, create either some narratives or belief systems. And even in that home or that house or that school that you're not supported in, the belief system that they don't believe in you, but you believe in yourself, you created that narrative on your own. And so when we interact with the world, we take these belief systems, like we like pack them in our brain, right? We like pack them, and then we decide that we're going to interact with the world through the lens of the belief systems that we have. And some of these are conscious and some of these are subconscious. And when it comes to interacting with other people or just in different various situations, I found it interesting that we need to come back to the idea of, like, sometimes it's not just about who I am, but it's also about the other person, okay? And what I mean by this is not all, I've heard several times or multiple times, like in therapy, like about how the other person did so and so and they made someone feel a certain type of way, whether it was upset, angry, sad, lonely. But the reality is that feeling, that reflection, has more to either do with the person who felt that feeling, or it has, and let me break this down. So it has more to do with the person who felt that feeling. And so I'm sure some of you have heard the saying, like, no one can make you feel any way. And I believe that, like, no one can make you feel a way that you didn't already feel before. So there are things that I know to be true and to be confident, and you can't tell me shit, okay? Like, because it's so ingrained into my belief system about who I am. But at the same time, if there's something that's like wonky or I'm insecure about or I am nervous about, when you approach me about it and you say something and I've already been questioning these things, or I don't feel 100% about these things, then I'm more likely to feel like I have not succeeded or implemented something that would put me in a good place, or I just like am kind of like looking for maybe like validation or approval. And that feeling is stirred up because that feeling already existed. I had already believed a neural network that wasn't strong enough to believe that maybe, I don't know, I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not fast enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not skinny enough. Whatever it is that you don't feel like you're enough of, it was there. And that person who, tiptoed into your life made you more aware that somewhere in your neuro system or in your brain or, anywhere, felt a little bit of that already. But it's not to say that, sometimes people do say mean things that can be hurtful, and you're going to feel a certain type of way regardless, because nobody really wants to be picked on or bullied or put in a position or a predicament that doesn't feel good or resonate with who they want to become or who they're trying to become. And so, it's important that we stay intentional about creating spaces and places, like I said, where we're not necessarily exposed to toxic environments at that capacity. I think on the other hand, though, when it comes to how we feel about things or how things are perceived, I have found in my later years, and also in general, I've talked a lot about this, is this idea of like self-acceptance about who we are and how we want to take the world on. Because the reality is that other people are going to already have their belief systems about the world and the way society should be and cultural norms and how you should act and how you should be perceived. I've learned this so many different times by how, like in therapy, just in general, with clients telling me their first perception of me is so funny. And I've gotten like the wildest arrangement of things, from super proper to very wild and like loose and like friendly and like very intimidating, to warm. And I started realizing like not much of who I was in my like initial assessments had changed, but it's kind of like how people came into the room, or their perception of therapy, or who they thought they were going to see, or so many other, perspectives. And I think I saw this also like last week with my mood, because most of the time you will find that I like, have this je ne sais quoi about me, which is like peppy and woo and like fun and like kind of like spitfirey. But last week I didn't. I just was human, and I was, processing my own life, or whatever you want to call it. And it wasn't that I was in a total bad mood, but what was interesting is that extra vavoom that I normally carry wasn't there. So it was just this like, hello, how are you? Okay, yes. Melancholy kind of approach. And not melancholy might not be the right word, but you get it. Like, just kind of like average. Not average, but just way of talking. And I love how sometimes when my words can't express myself, my like actions in my hands do a good job. So, hey. But yeah, so I just kind of like engage with people, and people looked at my temperament from such different perspective. It was very intriguing. So some people thought that I wasn't okay. Obviously, like, are you sad? You don't have your extra voom to you? Are you mad at me? I got a lot of, was it something I did wrong? Did we not, did I say something to offend you? Are you not excited? Are you sleepy? Are you upset or busy? There were so many just different versions of what I got for the same situation with the same energy, all in one day. And it dawned on me that a lot of people answered those based on not only their reaction or their response to me as a friend, or as a therapist, or as the grocery lady, whatever, like just this arrangement. They answered or asked me based on either how they knew me and or what they knew about themselves. Which brings me to the point that the world and other people also come with a sense of who they are from a different space or a different capacity. And it doesn't matter how you see yourself fitting into this equation, because there's already some preconceived notions or ideas about how the world should work. And so think about a world where you live your life trying to please others or fit into other people's expectations or bubbles or whatever that they have set for you. It's going to be a very tricky thing, because obviously the world comes with many, many types of people, many types of expectations and standards and norms, and it's not gonna all make one person or all people feel satisfied or perceive you to be the way that you hope to be perceived. And so I think that's a huge thing to take in consideration when we're looking at the ways that we interact and we try to engage with the world, because I think it comes down to this idea of just like being true or being vulnerable with yourself and being authentic to who you are, and checking in with yourself and asking yourself, what kind of energy am I bringing today? What fills my bucket, or who is the person that I wish to be, and how am I going to express that? How am I going to show that to others? And be okay when it doesn't always go that way or is perceived at that capacity. I also think that this is a good place or space of like learning and empathy. So, when something isn't done at the capacity that you have expected or understand, I think taking a moment to look at, the other person's perspective. Is it from a secure place or an insecure place? Is it from love? Is it from survival? Is it from, security with that survival? Or is it, out of comfort or resistant to change? Looking at the lens of how someone might take in the world and then interact with you can also just kind of leave some space to show love and to show understanding or comprehension. I am a huge component and telling my clients this, and I think it is harder than hell. So don't think that I'm judging you or anyone when I say this, because I know that even in my old life, when I want it, and then I get upset that I don't have it. But the reality is, in most situations or in situations in general, there is no such thing as closure. There's no closure. Like, you can't end everything always with this understanding or this kumbaya moment where there's resolution. And I think for me, as like an empath and as someone who is like an includer, and I'm blue, and I really like harmony and I don't like conflict. I like this idea of coming together and problem solving and feeling really good about what we're going to do. But the reality is that the closure has to come from within, and it comes from yourself. And so it's more about you and this understanding about you and how you take on the world and how you interacted with that person. And then also realizing, like, okay, I'm taking responsibility of A, B, C, and D and all of these actions, and those are all going to be mine to take. But at what capacity also do you say in this moment, okay, that feels good? Now, A, B, C, and D have nothing to do with me. They have to do more with that person and how they perceive the world and why they're mad at the world or why they are so happy with the world. And they don't understand my perspective or my lens. And so I think when we look at conflict or situations or things like that, it brings a level of understanding, comprehension, that we are just these beings, these souls having human experiences, and we're learning through those interactions. I know I kind of shared about both sides of this, but I think it's just so important. So if you have any questions, you can always ask me, because I have found that in multiple situations, sometimes I look at it from my lens, and then sometimes I look at it from the other person's lens, and then you feel like this, right? But I think that's the beautiful work of learning what resonates with you, what doesn't, and then, that's where it's important to check our, somatic responses, check in with our family or our friends, and they'll help us also get a bigger picture to see, are we being delusional, or are we like in line with something and letting go of toxic things or toxic people, like I talked about in the previous video, of things that don't serve us. So with that being said, I think what the big takeaway from this video is this idea of really celebrating yourself, your identity, and how you have navigated through this world, through your trauma and through your successes, and taking a moment to reflect and give gratitude for things that made you stronger, and giving gratitude for people who opened up your mind or opened up a different perspective or help you see things from a different light, and made you a little bit more round, or when I mean round, I mean whole. So yeah, I wish you all a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous day, and please take care of yourself.